The bass thrummed through my chest as I swayed to the music, my phone already recording. The lights at Tryst Nightclub painted everything in electric blues and purples, and I felt alive in a way I hadn't in months. Caleb sat at our table, nursing his beer and scrolling through his phone like he always did when we went out with friends. "Come dance with me," I shouted over the music, grabbing his arm. Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. He looked up with those tired eyes I'd grown so familiar with. "You know I don't dance, Ori. Just have fun with the girls." That's when I saw him, tall, dark hair, perfectly styled, moving through the crowd like he owned the place. Rafael Mendez. I'd seen him on the club's Instagram. He was one of their promoters, always surrounded by beautiful women in the photos. "Fine," I said, loud enough for our friends to hear. "Maybe I'll find someone who actually wants to have fun." Sarah and Jessica giggled, already tipsy from their cosmos. "Do it," Sarah encouraged, her phone now pointed at me too. "Show him what he's missing." I strutted onto the dance floor, my black dress hugging every curve. The alcohol had given me confidence, and the attention from other guys was intoxicating. When Raphael appeared beside me, grinding to the rhythm, I didn't pull away. "You're gorgeous," he whispered in my ear, his accent making my skin tingle. I glanced back at our table. Caleb was watching now, his expression unreadable. Good. Maybe this would wake him up. "What's your name, beautiful?" Raphael asked, his hands finding my waist. "Orithyia," I breathed, "but everyone calls me Ori." "Like the goddess," he grinned. "I'm Rafa. You here with friends?" I nodded toward our table. "My husband's the boring one in the corner." Raphael's eyebrows shot up, but his smile didn't fade. "Husband? He's crazy to let you out of his sight." The song changed to something slower, more sensual. I pressed closer to Raphael, very aware that half our friend group was filming. This would look amazing on my Instagram story. "You want to grab a drink?" Raphael asked. "Actually," I said, pulling out my phone with theatrical flair, "why don't you give me your number? Maybe we can hang out sometime when my husband's working late." I said it loud enough for the girls to hear, and their squeals of excitement were exactly what I wanted. Sarah was definitely getting this on video. Raphael looked surprised but pleased. He rattled off his digits while I typed them into my contacts, making sure to angle my phone so the cameras could catch it. "There," I announced, holding up my phone. "Rafael Mendez, club promoter extraordinaire." "Text me any time, goddess," he said, kissing my hand before melting back into the crowd. I practically floated back to our table, high on adrenaline and attention. The girls were buzzing with excitement, already uploading videos to their stories. "Oh my God, Ori, you're insane," Jessica laughed. "Did you see Caleb's face?" I looked at my husband. He was staring at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not angry, exactly. More like disappointed, calculating. "What?" I said, sliding into the booth beside him. "It was just harmless fun. You should try it sometime." Caleb took a long sip of his beer. "Harmless," he repeated quietly. "Don't be such a stick in the mud," I said, already editing the videos on my phone. "It's not like I'm actually going to call him." But even as I said it, I was adding Raphael's contact to my favorites. Caleb stood up suddenly. "I'm ready to go." "Already? Come on, the night's just getting started." "You can stay," he said, pulling out his wallet and leaving money for our drinks. "I'll catch an Uber." Sarah and Jessica exchanged glances. This wasn't like Caleb. He never left me anywhere, even when we fought. "Caleb, wait," I called, but he was already walking toward the exit. "Let him go," Sarah said. "He's just jealous. You looked amazing out there." I posted the videos to my Instagram story with the caption, "When your husband won't dance with you, find someone who will living my best life, married but not dead." The likes and comments started pouring in immediately. My co-workers, old college friends, Even some random guys I barely knew were sliding into my DMs telling me how lucky Raphael was. By the time I got home around 2 a.m., Caleb was already asleep. Or pretending to be. I stumbled into our bedroom, still buzzing from the attention, and collapsed onto my side of the bed. "Did you have fun?" Caleb's voice came from the darkness. "You could have stayed," I mumbled into my pillow. "It was just dancing." "Right, just dancing." When I woke up the next morning, Caleb was already gone. His side of the bed was perfectly made, and there was a note on the kitchen counter. "Early meeting, coffee's ready. See." I poured myself a cup and checked my phone. 43 new followers overnight, and my story had been viewed over 200 times. Even my mum had commented with laughing emojis. Then I noticed something that made my stomach drop slightly. Raphael had texted me at 3 a.m. "Hope you made it home safe, goddess. Can't stop thinking about you." I stared at the message for a long moment before deleting it without responding. It was just harmless flirting, right? Caleb was overreacting like he always did. But when he came home that evening, something was different. He was polite, even friendly. But there was a distance that hadn't been there before. And when bedtime came, he grabbed his pillow and headed for the guest room. "Where are you going?" I asked. "I thought you might want some space," he said calmly. "To think about things." "Think about what?" "Caleb, you're being ridiculous. It was one dance." He paused in the doorway. "Good night, Ori." That was 3 days ago, and he hadn't come back to our bed since. "Girl, you are living your best life." Nate Porter leaned against my cubicle wall, scrolling through my Instagram on his phone. "That video of you dancing has like 300 likes now." I beamed, spinning in my office chair. "Right. I mean, why should I apologize for having fun?" "Exactly. Your husband needs to loosen up. You're young, you're gorgeous, you deserve attention." Nate was always encouraging my wilder side. As the office gossip, he lived vicariously through everyone else's drama. My phone buzzed with another text from Raphael. "Thinking about you today, goddess. When can I see you again?" This time, I didn't delete it immediately. "Who's that?" Nate asked, noticing my smile. "Just the guy from the club," I said, showing him the text. "Ooh, he's persistent. I like that in a man." Nate waggled his eyebrows. "Are you going to respond?" "I don't know. Maybe. Caleb's been sleeping in the guest room for 3 days. If he wants to act like a child, maybe I should start exploring my options." What I didn't mention was how the silent treatment was getting to me. Caleb wasn't angry. That would have been easier to handle. He was just distant, methodical. He made coffee every morning, left polite notes, and came home at exactly the same time. But he looked at me like I was a stranger. "You should totally text him back," Nate urged. "Life's too short to waste on men who don't appreciate you." I was about to respond to Raphael when my computer chimed with a new email. It was from Priya Sharma, our department manager. "Please see me in my office when you have a moment. P." "Uh-oh," Nate said, reading over my shoulder. "Think someone complained about your posts?" My stomach clenched. "What posts?" "Well, you did tag the company location in some of your stories, and that video of you at lunch yesterday talking about your boring husband while you were in your work clothes. I had posted that during my break, venting to the camera about how Caleb never wanted to do anything fun anymore. It had gotten a lot of engagement, with people commenting about how I deserved better. "That's not against company policy," I said, but my voice sounded less confident than I intended. Priya's office was glass-walled, which meant everyone could see me getting called in. She was a small woman in her 40s, always impeccably dressed, and she didn't smile when I knocked. "Sit down, Orithyia." She pulled up something on her computer screen. "I've received some concerns about your social media presence." My heart sank as she turned the monitor toward me. There was my Instagram feed, screenshots of my stories from the past week. The dancing video, the complaints about Caleb, even a selfie I'd taken in the office bathroom with the caption, "Stuck at work while my husband ignores me." I want to be clear, Priya continued, that what you do in your personal life is your business. However, when you're identifiable as an employee of this company, your online behavior reflects on us. I didn't do anything wrong, I protested. I was just having fun. You posted a video of yourself exchanging phone numbers with another man while married, tagged our office location, and made disparaging comments about your spouse while wearing company-branded clothing. Priya's voice was patient but firm. This isn't about right or wrong. It's about professionalism. I felt heat rising in my cheeks. So I'm not allowed to have a social life. You're allowed to do whatever you want, but I need you to be more mindful about what you share publicly. Consider this a verbal warning. I walked back to my desk in a daze. Nate was waiting with barely contained excitement. What did she say? Are you in trouble? She's just jealous, I muttered, but the words felt hollow. Probably hasn't had fun in years. That evening, I came home to find Caleb in his study, formerly our guest room, but he'd moved his computer and work files in there. The door was open, and I could see him typing on his laptop. How was work? He asked without looking up. Fine. I hesitated in the doorway. Caleb, can we talk? This is getting ridiculous. He saved whatever he was working on and turned to face me. What would you like to talk about? This whole silent treatment thing. You sleeping in here? Acting like I committed some terrible crime. I'm not giving you the silent treatment. We're talking right now. You know what I mean. Frustration bubbled over. It was one dance, Caleb. One harmless dance. He was quiet for a long moment, studying my face. Is that really what you think it was? Yes. God, you're so paranoid. Just because some guy gave me attention doesn't mean anything happened. You exchanged phone numbers. So what? I exchange numbers with people all the time. It doesn't mean anything. Caleb nodded slowly. I see. Do you? Because you're acting like I cheated or something. Have you responded to his texts? The question caught me off guard. What texts? Raphael has texted you at least 6 times since Friday night. I've seen your phone light up. A chill ran down my spine. Are you spying on me now? Your phone was on the kitchen counter this morning when he texted. The preview showed on the lock screen. Caleb's voice remained maddeningly calm. So, I'll ask again, have you responded? I hadn't, but I'd wanted to, and somehow Caleb seemed to know that. This is insane, I said instead of answering. You're treating me like a criminal for having fun. I'm not treating you like anything, Ori. I'm just observing. Observing what? Patterns, choices, consequences. There was something in his tone that made my skin crawl. This wasn't the Caleb I knew, my sweet, introverted husband who avoided confrontation. This version was calculating, almost clinical. I don't like this new version of you, I said, and I don't like this version of you either. He turned back to his laptop. But here we are. I stormed out, slamming the door behind me. In our bedroom, my bedroom now apparently, I grabbed my phone and finally responded to Raphael's latest text. Sorry for the delay. Things have been complicated at home. His response came within minutes. Want to talk about it? I'm a good listener. Before I could second-guess myself, I typed back, maybe. Are you free tomorrow for coffee? Absolutely, I know the perfect place. Can't wait to see you again, goddess. I fell asleep that night with a mixture of excitement and guilt churning in my stomach. But when I woke up, the guilt was gone, replaced by defiance. If Caleb wanted to play games, I could play too. I met Raphael at a trendy coffee shop downtown during my lunch break, telling myself it was just innocent conversation. He looked even better in daylight. Designer jeans, expensive watch, the kind of confident smile that made me remember what it felt like to be desired. You look incredible, he said, standing to kiss my cheek when I arrived. That husband of yours is crazy. Let's not talk about him, I said, sliding into the booth across from him. Tell me about yourself. What's it like being a club promoter? For the next hour, Raphael regaled me with stories about celebrities he'd met, parties he'd thrown, and the glamorous lifestyle that came with his job. It was intoxicating after months of Caleb's routine-driven existence. "You should come to our VIP event next Saturday," Raphael said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "I could put you on the list." "I don't know. I'm married." "So, you're not dead." His thumb traced circles on my palm. "Besides, from what you told me, your husband doesn't seem to appreciate what he has." I found myself nodding. "He really doesn't. We used to have so much fun together, but now it's like living with a robot." "Life's too short to be unhappy, goddess. You deserve someone who makes you feel alive." I took a selfie of us at the table, Raphael's hand still covering mine. The lighting was perfect, and we looked good together. Really good. Back at the office, I posted the photo to my Instagram story with the caption, "Coffee with an interesting friend, unkrant new connections, unin living my best life." Nate appeared at my desk within minutes. "Girl, is that the club guy? You actually met up with him?" "It was just coffee," I said, but I was smiling. "Just coffee, my ass. Look at the way he's looking at you in that photo. That man wants to do very uncoffee-like things to you." I laughed, feeling giddy. "Stop it." "I'm serious, though. Be careful. Office gossip travels fast, and you don't want this getting back to your husband through the wrong channels." But I was already addicted to the attention. My story had been viewed 50 times in the past hour, and the DMs were pouring in. Old college friends asking if I was single now, co-workers making comments about my mystery man, even some random guys shooting their shot. When I got home that evening, Caleb was in the kitchen making dinner. He looked up when I walked in, and I could swear his eyes lingered on my outfit, the dress I'd changed into before meeting Raphael. "How was your day?" he asked, the same question he'd been asking for years. "Good, busy. Had a lunch meeting that ran long." The lie came easily. "I see." He turned back to the stove. "Your sister called. She wants to have dinner this weekend." Lydia. My younger sister had always been the responsible one, the one who asked too many questions. "What did you tell her?" "That I'd check with you." "Fine, whatever." I was scrolling through my phone, reading the comments on my story. "I might be busy Saturday night, though." "Oh, what's happening Saturday?" I looked up to find him watching me with that same calculating expression. "Just plans with friends." "Which friends?" "Since when do you care about my social calendar?" I snapped. "You've barely spoken to me in a week." "I'm speaking to you now." "You know what I mean, Caleb. This whole cold shoulder thing is getting old." He served dinner, pasta with marinara, nothing fancy, and we ate in relative silence. But I could feel him watching me, studying me like I was some kind of specimen under a microscope. Later that night, I was getting ready for bed when I heard him in his study, talking on the phone. His voice was too low to make out words, but the conversation lasted nearly an hour. When I pressed my ear to the door, I could only catch fragments. And documentation. And timeline. Need to be sure. Who was he talking to at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday? The next morning, Caleb left earlier than usual. I used the opportunity to snoop around his study, looking for clues about what he'd been working on so intently. His desk was meticulously organized, color-coded files, labeled folders, everything in its proper place. That's when I saw it, a manila folder labeled Household, sitting on top of his filing cabinet. Inside were bank statements, copies of our marriage certificate, insurance documents, and something that made my blood run cold, a spreadsheet titled Timeline, with dates, locations, and notes going back 3 months. 3:15, Ori home, 2 hours late, claimed traffic. 3:22, new Instagram post, deleted husband reference from bio. 4.2, phone face down during dinner, unusual behavior. 4.8, Tryst Nightclub incident, video evidence saved, video evidence saved. My hands shook as I scrolled down the document. Every late night, every social media post, every small change in my behavior had been catalogued with mechanical precision. At the bottom of the spreadsheet was a note: consultation scheduled, 4:15. Today's date was April 14th. I quickly photographed the document with my phone and put everything back exactly as I'd found it. My mind was racing. What kind of consultation? With who? That afternoon, I called Lydia from my car during lunch break. "Hey sis, Caleb said you wanted to have dinner this weekend." "Actually, Ori, I need to talk to you about something. Can you come over tonight?" There was something in her tone that made my stomach clench. "What's wrong?" "Just come over. We need to talk." Lydia's apartment was a cozy one-bedroom in a converted brownstone. She'd always been the practical sister. Steady job as a nurse, sensible car, no drama. When she opened the door, her expression was serious. "Sit down," she said, gesturing to her couch. "We need to discuss what's been going on." "If this is about my Instagram posts..." "It's not about your post, Ori. It's about Caleb." My heart stopped. "What about Caleb?" Lydia sat across from me, her hands folded in her lap. "He called me yesterday. He's concerned about you, about your marriage." "He called you? What did he say?" "He asked me to hold on to something for him, an envelope. He said it was just a precaution, but Ori..." She looked at me with worry in her eyes. "I think he's planning something." "What kind of envelope?" "I don't know. He said not to open it unless he specifically asked me to, but the fact that he felt he needed to give it to me at all..." She trailed off. I thought about the spreadsheet, the mysterious phone call, the consultation scheduled for today. "Lydia, I think Caleb might be losing it. He's been acting so strange lately, keeping track of everything I do like some kind of stalker." "Or maybe he's protecting himself," she said quietly. "From what?" "From whatever you're doing that's making him feel like he needs to document everything." The accusation hung in the air between us. "I haven't done anything wrong." "Haven't you?" Lydia pulled out her phone and showed me my own Instagram story from that afternoon, the coffee shop photo with Raphael. "Who is this, Ori?" "Just a friend." "A friend whose hand is on yours? A friend you're calling interesting and posting about while your husband sleeps in the guest room?" Heat flooded my cheeks. "It's not what it looks like." "Then what is it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're having an emotional affair and posting about it on social media." "You don't understand." "I understand that Caleb is one of the best men I know, and you're treating him like garbage." Lydia's voice was sharp now. "I understand that he's documenting your behavior because he thinks you're going to leave him, and he wants to protect himself legally." The word legally hit me like a slap. "What are you talking about?" "Wake up, Ori. He's building a case, and from what I can see, you're giving him plenty of evidence." I left Lydia's apartment in a daze, her words echoing in my head. When I got home, Caleb was in his study again, door closed. I could hear him typing, the steady rhythm of keys clicking late into the night. I lay in our empty bed, staring at the ceiling, finally understanding what I was up against. This wasn't just about a dance or a coffee date anymore. This was about something much bigger, and I was starting to realize I might be in over my head. But instead of feeling scared, I felt angry. If Caleb wanted to play detective, I'd give him something to really investigate. I picked up my phone and texted Raphael. "Are you free tomorrow night? I think I'm ready for that VIP event after all." The VIP event at Tryst was everything Raphael had promised: exclusive, glamorous, and full of beautiful people who made me feel like I belonged in their world. I'd spent 2 hours getting ready, choosing a red dress that hugged every curve and heels that made my legs look endless. "You're absolutely stunning tonight," Raphael whispered in my ear as we sat in the roped-off VIP section. "Every man in here is jealous of me." I laughed, feeling intoxicated by more than just the expensive champagne he kept pouring. "You're such a flatterer." "I'm serious. Look around. You're the most beautiful woman here." I did look around, and caught several people taking photos and videos. Good, let them document this. Let them see what it looked like when someone actually appreciated me. Dance with me, Raphael said, pulling me toward the floor. This time, I didn't hold back. I let him spin me, dip me, pull me close against his chest. His hands roamed lower than they should have, and I didn't stop him. When he kissed my neck, I closed my eyes and pretended not to see the phones pointed in our direction. "Come back to my place," he murmured against my ear. For a moment I considered it. It would serve Caleb right after all his cold, calculating behavior. But something held me back. "Not tonight," I said, "but soon." I posted everything to my Instagram story, the champagne, the VIP section, Raphael's arm around my waist, the dancing. By the time I got home at 3 a.m., the post had hundreds of views and dozens of DMs. Caleb wasn't waiting up for me. His study door was closed, and I could see light underneath it, still working, even at this hour. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing incessantly. Text after text, missed calls, notifications from every social media platform. For a moment, I thought I'd gone viral in a good way. Then I saw the messages. "Ori, what the hell are you doing?" Jessica from our friend group. "Girl, this is getting out of hand." Sarah, "You need to take those posts down now." Nate. I opened Instagram with growing dread. My stories from the night before had been screenshotted and reposted by multiple people, including some I didn't even know. The comments were brutal. "This woman is married and acting like this in public. Someone should tell her husband. Trashy behavior, home wrecker vibes." But it was the comment from my coworker Amanda that made my stomach drop. Isn't this the woman from our office who was just complaining about her husband on her lunch break posts? My work life and personal life were colliding in the worst possible way. I stumbled to the kitchen for coffee and found a note from Caleb. "Meeting ran late. We'll be home this evening. Please call your mother. She's concerned." See, my mother. Oh God, my mother had seen the posts. I called her immediately, but her tone was colder than I'd ever heard it. "Orithyia, what on earth are you thinking?" "Mum, it's not what it looks like. It looks like you're having an affair and broadcasting it to the world. Your aunt called me this morning asking if you and Caleb were getting divorced." "We're not getting divorced. It was just a night out with friends." "Friends don't put their hands on married women like that, sweetie, and married women don't let them." The disappointment in her voice was crushing. My mother had always been my biggest supporter, the one who told me to live a little when I complained about Caleb's boring routine. "I'm just trying to have some fun, Mum. Caleb's been so distant lately." "Maybe he's distant because you're giving him reasons to be." After she hung up, I sat in my kitchen, feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. I tried calling Jessica and Sarah, but both calls went to voicemail. Even Nate wasn't responding to my texts. At work, the atmosphere was toxic. People stopped talking when I walked by, and I caught several co-workers showing each other something on their phones, probably my Instagram posts. Priya called me into her office again before 10 a.m. "We need to discuss your social media presence again," she said, and this time her tone was much more serious. I was on my own time. "Orithyia, you've been tagged in multiple posts that are circulating around the office. Posts that show you in compromising positions with someone who isn't your husband, while you're clearly identifiable as an employee here." She turned her computer screen toward me. Someone had compiled my Instagram stories into a single video and posted it to TikTok. It had over 50,000 views and hundreds of comments, most of them calling me various unflattering names. "This is affecting workplace morale and our company's reputation. I'm placing you on administrative leave pending a full review." "You can't be serious." "I'm very serious. Clean out your desk and go home. HR will contact you about next steps." I walked out of the building in a daze, carrying a cardboard box with my personal items. Several co-workers watched from the windows, and I could see them whispering. By tomorrow, everyone would know I'd been suspended. At home, I tried to salvage what was left of my social life. I called Jessica directly. "Ori, I can't talk right now," she said when she finally answered. "Jess, please. I know how this looks, but..." "How it looks?" "Ori, you were practically having sex on the dance floor with some random guy while posting about how much you hate your husband. How do you think it looks?" "I never said I hate Caleb. You've done nothing but complain about him for months. And now you're running around with this club guy like you're single. It's embarrassing." "So you're taking his side?" "There are no sides, Ori. There's just right and wrong, and what you're doing is wrong." She hung up, and when I tried to call Sarah, her phone went straight to voicemail. That evening, Caleb came home to find me crying on the couch, surrounded by tissues and empty wine bottles. "Rough day?" he asked, his tone neutral. "They suspended me from work. Jessica won't talk to me. Even my mother thinks I'm a terrible person." He sat down across from me, studying my face. "Are you? Am I what?" "A terrible person." I looked at him through my tears. "I don't know anymore." For a moment, something flickered in his expression. Maybe sympathy, maybe pity. But then it was gone, replaced by that same calculating look. "What do you want to do about it?" he asked. "I want to fix things. I want to go back to how we were before." "Before when? Before you started staying out until 3 a.m.? Before you started posting about how boring I am? Before you exchanged numbers with Raphael? Or before you started meeting him for coffee dates?" Each question hit like a physical blow. "How do you—" "I know everything, Ori. Every text, every post, every lie you've told me about where you've been." His voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath it. "The question is, what are you going to do about it now?" I wiped my eyes, trying to think clearly. "I'll delete my social media accounts. I'll stop seeing Raphael. I'll do whatever it takes." "Will you?" "Yes, I promise." Caleb nodded slowly. "We'll see." He stood up and headed toward his study, then paused. "Oh, and Ori, your mother didn't just call because she was concerned. She called because someone sent her screenshots of all your posts. Someone who thought she should know what her daughter was doing. The implication hit me like a truck. You sent them to her. I didn't have to. You made your choices public. People talk." He disappeared into his study, leaving me alone with the wreckage of my life. But even as I sat there, humiliated and isolated, a part of me was already planning my next move. If everyone was going to treat me like the villain anyway, maybe it was time to embrace the role. I picked up my phone and texted Raphael. "Can you come over tomorrow? I need to see you." Raphael arrived at my house the next afternoon with flowers and that same confident smile that had gotten me into this mess in the first place. I'd spent the morning cleaning frantically, trying to make everything perfect, trying to convince myself that this was what I wanted. "Your husband at work?" he asked, looking around our living room with obvious interest. "He's always at work," I lied. Truth was, I had no idea where Caleb was. He'd left early that morning with a briefcase and hadn't said when he'd be back. Raphael pulled me into his arms, and for a moment, I let myself get lost in the fantasy. He was everything Caleb wasn't: spontaneous, passionate, dangerous. When he kissed me, it felt like rebellion, like freedom. But when his hand started wandering, I pulled away. "What's wrong, goddess?" he asked, confusion clouding his features. "Nothing, we should take things slow." "Slow?" he laughed. "Ori, you've been flirting with me for weeks. You invited me to your house while your husband's away. What did you think was going to happen?" The way he said it made me feel cheap, like I was just another conquest. "I thought we could talk, get to know each other better." "We can talk after," he said, reaching for me again. "No." I stepped back. "I think you should go." His expression shifted, becoming harder. "Are you serious? You've been leading me on this whole time." "I haven't been leading you on..." "Bullshit. The dancing, the coffee dates, the late-night texts. You've been playing games, and now you want to act all innocent." "Get out." My voice was shaking. Get out of my house right now. Raphael shook his head in disgust. You're crazy, you know that. No wonder your husband doesn't want to touch you. After he left, I collapsed on my couch, finally understanding what I'd been doing to myself, to my marriage, to my life. I'd been so focused on feeling desired, on proving I was still attractive and fun, that I'd lost sight of everything that actually mattered. I tried calling Lydia, but she didn't answer. I tried my mother, but her phone went straight to voicemail. Even Nate, my partner in crime at work, wasn't responding to my texts. That evening, Caleb came home with takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant. He set the containers on the kitchen table, without a word, and started serving 2 plates. You didn't have to do that, I said quietly. I know. He handed me a plate of pad Thai, my usual order. How was your day? The kindness in the gesture broke something inside me. Caleb, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He looked at me for a long moment, then sat down across from me. For what, specifically? For everything. The dancing, the posts, Raphael, all of it. I was being selfish and stupid, and I hurt you. Yes, you did. Can you forgive me? Can we try to fix this? Caleb ate a few bites of his food before answering. I don't know, Ori. I honestly don't know. What can I do? Tell me what to do to make this right. I don't think you can make it right. I think you can only decide what you're going to do moving forward. I want to be better. I want to be the wife you deserve. Do you? His eyes searched my face. Or do you just want things to go back to the way they were so you don't have to face the consequences of your choices? The question hit too close to home. That's not fair. Isn't it? You've spent months complaining about our marriage, posting about how boring I am, seeking attention from other men. And now that there are consequences, you want to fix things. But what happens the next time you're bored, the next time some guy gives you attention? I didn't have an answer for that, because I wasn't sure I knew myself well enough to promise it wouldn't happen again. We finished dinner in silence, and afterward, Caleb retreated to his study as usual. But this time, I noticed he was packing things into boxes, files, documents, personal items. What are you doing? I asked from the doorway. Organizing, he said without looking up. It looks like you're packing. Maybe I am. The words hit me like ice water. Caleb, please, don't give up on us. He finally looked at me, and what I saw in his eyes was worse than anger. It was resignation. I'm not giving up, Ori. I'm protecting myself. That night, I lay in our bed, still our bed technically, though he hadn't slept in it for 2 weeks, and listened to him moving around in his study. The sounds of papers shuffling, phone calls in hushed tones, the occasional beep of his computer. Around midnight, I heard him leave the house. His car started in the driveway, and I watched from the bedroom window as his taillights disappeared down the street. Where was he going at midnight on a Thursday? He didn't come back until morning, arriving just as I was getting ready for another day of unemployment and social isolation. He looked tired but determined, carrying a manila envelope and wearing the same clothes from the night before. Where were you? I asked. Taking care of some business? He headed straight for his study and closed the door. I spent the day in a haze of anxiety, checking my phone constantly for messages that never came. My Instagram had been quiet since I'd stopped posting, but the damage was already done. I was a cautionary tale now, a woman who'd destroyed her life for social media attention. That evening, Caleb emerged from his study with a serious expression. Ori, we need to talk. My heart started racing. Okay. I've made some decisions about our situation, about our marriage. What kind of decisions? He sat down across from me, the same manila envelope in his hands. I think it's best if we separate for a while, give each other some space to figure out what we really want. No. The word came out as a whisper. Caleb, no. I know what I want. I want you. I want our marriage. Do you? Or do you just want the security of having a husband while you explore your options? That's not what I was doing. isn't it? He opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of papers. Because I have documentation that suggests otherwise. My blood turned to ice as I recognized the spreadsheet I'd found in his study, along with screenshots of my social media posts, printed text messages, and photos I didn't even know existed. You've been spying on me. I've been protecting myself, and it's a good thing I did because tomorrow morning you're going to receive some documents that will make everything official. What documents? But even as I asked the question, I already knew. The late-night trip, the manila envelope, the resignation in his eyes. Caleb, please, don't do this. We can work through this together. No, Ori, we can't. Because you don't want to work through anything. You want to keep playing games and expect me to pretend it's not happening. He stood up, taking the papers with him. You should probably call a lawyer. Caleb. Good night, Ori. He disappeared into his study one last time, leaving me alone with the terrible understanding that I'd pushed things too far, that my need for attention and validation had cost me the one person who'd ever truly loved me. But even as I sat there, facing the destruction of my marriage, a part of me was already thinking about how to spin this story, how to make myself the victim, how to get people on my side. Some habits, apparently, were harder to break than others. At 8 a.m., a process server handed me a manila envelope and, with it, the end of my marriage. Inside were the words, petition for divorce, a proposed asset split, a note in Caleb's handwriting giving me 60 days to leave the house, and a thick evidence packet that showed me my own life like a criminal file. Screenshots of my posts, texts, photos of me with Raphael, security footage from the club, even video of him kissing me in our living room. Caleb hadn't been bluffing or sulking. He'd been watching, documenting, and preparing. Lydia, my sister, read through it all and didn't sugarcoat anything. I'd been emotionally cheating in public and humiliating my husband, then expecting him to fight for me. My parents refused to take my side. Caleb refused to answer my calls. When I cornered him at his office garage, he told me I was only sorry because there were consequences now, that I'd had months to choose our marriage and chose attention instead. The prenup I'd forgotten signing meant his documented infidelity clause stripped me down to the bare minimum. 6 months after that night at Tryst, I was in a cramped studio, fielding angry customers in a call center while Facebook groups traded my story as a warning. Old friends avoided me. Even Raphael had blocked my number. When I ran into Jessica, she told me Caleb was happy and dating someone kind, and for once I couldn't resent it. While I'd been performing for strangers and chasing validation from a club promoter who bailed the second it got hard, Caleb had been quietly protecting himself. I hadn't just ruined my marriage, I'd live-streamed my own downfall and handed him the evidence. In the end, he walked away clean, and I got exactly what I'd earned: loneliness, a wrecked reputation, and a very clear picture of how thoroughly I'd thrown away a good man for nothing.